was. It is kind of still wet.
Yeah.
Why, hello?
Hey there. So we had a good debate this morning.
I'm not sure I'd call it a debate.
I would call it a debate. I was trying to do a nice thing of putting coffee grounds into an old Cafe du Monde coffee cup, or what do you call it?
Tin.
A tin. Little did I know that you could still taste the chicory flavoring when it comes out and you percolate your coffee, however you want to do it. Pour over or percolate, I guess. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I never knew that you could subtly, your taste buds were so refined for coffee that you could taste the subtleties of chicory from a very long time ago.
Well, it was in there for a very long time. You didn't drink it very fast. It's just, you kept adding more of the other coffee to it, so it, coated all the other coffee.
Well,
and I got this so we are fortunate to live close to the roasting plant that supplies Whole Foods coffee. It's Allegro coffee, so we live close to their headquarters, and we can go over there and buy coffee from them. And so it's a nice, fresh coffee in a bag. They know what they're doing with their bags and their freshness seals. Why should we pour theirs into a tin that used to have chicory coffee in it, and it spoils the taste?
I couldn't taste it.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I need more chicory to taste the chicory.
And we found out what chicory actually is.
Yes, because
it's poor man's coffee.
It's not poor man's coffee. It's decaf coffee. No coffee in it, but it tastes kind of like coffee.
Yeah, which I would say is probably originated as poor man's coffee.
Probably. But so I guess East Asia or somewhere over there in the Europe place, somebody found out that you could take a root and I guess grind it and roast it, and it would taste sort of kind of like coffee when you didn't have coffee. So I wonder if it actually came before coffee, because coffee came from Asia, right? Originally.
I should know, but I'm not.
You should.
I don't think it came from Asia. I think it came from the Americas.
Was it the Americas?
I believe so, because tea was discovered in Asia.
Okay.
And its caffeinating effects. They didn't quite understand why. They got a buzz after drinking the tea.
Mm-hmm.
So they discovered caffeine, and I'm sure they discovered it way before coffee was discovered. But I want to say that coffee was a gift of the Americas.
Okay.
And I should know, because I used to work for Starbucks long ago, and I did kind of their coffee masters training.
Yeah. Coffee masters training.
Yeah.
It was a master's course in coffee.
It was. And actually, I wasn't permitted to get my certificate because I was going to be getting married and leaving the store. And my store manager didn't want to waste the money on me to get the actual official coffee master's training. But I went through it, but I can't remember it. But yeah.
Most people that went through it probably don't remember it.
That is true.
It's like all things learned. We unlearn them very quickly.
Well, I have a particular gift in unlearning things that I don't find useful.
But you do find this useful because you love coffee.
Yes, but that is a more recent discovery in my life. If you may recall, did I drink any coffee with our firstborn?
I don't remember, honestly.
I did not. I didn't drink coffee.
Oh, okay. I guess I was too busy drinking energy drinks at that point in our life.
Probably.
I didn't really drink much coffee. I had espresso at the office because we had the little Nestle cup things that you, before you had a Keurig, there were these little mini cups for making espresso, and I would have those, and I was addicted to them. I would have like at least 2 or 3 a day.
Woof.
Yeah. They tasted good back then, now not so much. I mean, I guess if I want an instantaneous headache, then I'll do one. But me and caffeine aren't simpatico. So
I know
the
this.
idea of decaf with chicory in it sounds pretty good to me. But I always like chicory. I've always loved the flavor of
Well,
that.
and I don't mind it in a like cafe au lait. I think it's got like that distinct New Orleans taste in a cafe au lait. But I wouldn't want to just drink a pot of chicory coffee. Not my jam.
And I honestly don't know if community coffee has chicory in it. I assume it does because there's a distinct flavor to community coffee.
Yeah.
But I don't know 100% that it has chicory in it.
Yeah, I think that it'd be easy to discover because it would have to be labeled in the ingredients on the bag.
When we were in Ann Arbor, there was a little coffee shop that made Turkish coffee, and they had chicory, and it was so good. I loved it.
Turkish coffee.
It was thick.
I hear that's thick.
It was.
Yeah.
It was super good. Enjoyed it. Well, I'm Dale.
I'm Kit.
And welcome to Catholic Hitch. We are a Catholic family seeking heaven and hoping to pick up others along the way.
Small talk.
So, a couple of weekends ago, we got the gift of going on a date.
It was actually a week.
Is that
It's in the middle of a week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I had taken some time off.
Yes, so it
I
was
forgot
right
about
after
that.
we got back from camping.
That's right. That's right. And so we decided to go watch Top Gun. Maverick, not
Yes.
Top Gun the original. Although you had watched it a couple times. Like, because you'd never seen it. Well, we watched it when we were newlyweds, but then you forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you watched it again.
Yes, I watched it like the week before we ended up seeing it because I wasn't feeling well and it was just easy to watch. And it is exactly what I remember, which is just not rememberable. So that's why I don't
Ouch.
remember it. It is not a good movie. It is not. It is classic, excuse my language, dick flick.
I know, but maybe because I watched it as a kid and, there's planes and guns and machismo. It's very rememberable for me. And the motorcycle. I mean, how could you forget one of the first Kawasaki Ninjas?
Yep. Could never forget that.
I mean, he had it in the second movie. That was a nice touch.
He did. And so, speaking of the second movie, I think without spoiling anything, although, Lord, I think everyone has seen.
If you're going to watch it, probably you've watched it by now. I would expect. If you haven't, then pause the podcast, go watch the movie, and then come listen to this episode.
Yeah. It was good. I liked it a lot.
And there you have it, folks. No, I thought they blended very well the original ideas, the whole feel of it. I mean, it was basically Top Gun redo, just with Tom Cruise being, 20, 30 years older. It's a 30-year-old movie almost.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, at least 30 years.
So I appreciated the homages, and that I was able to catch because I had just watched the original.
I think you caught some more than I did.
I probably did. And I really like that there was a plot in the second movie. And
because there wasn't in the first?
No. It was a dick flick.
He was proving himself as the best and the baddest at flying.
Yeah, that's a great plot right there.
It is.
Uh-huh. Let's all go to a school to show that we're the best. The end of the story.
Well,
we learn some stuff about ourselves.
In a Cold War era of we have to fight the Ruskies. Therefore, we have to be the best at everything. Go America. It's all the plot you needed in 1985, 86, whenever it was.
I'll accept that answer, that's all the plot we needed. But there's still not a good plot. There's really no plot in the first movie. I'm sorry for the diehards. I'm sure I've got a lot of people hating me. But
I think it's fine.
There was a plot in the second movie, and it did a great homage. It started out strong, and I was blessed by not having watched any trailers, except for a very long ago trailer when we got our new TV and you were
the 4K
obsessed with
trailer.
watching the 4K stuff, and it was really just a flyby and then the Top Gun.
Right, which happens in the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
And then when he banks and he's actually doing what you would do in a high G situation, which because he was in the plane, which was super cool that they actually got to do that. Learn how to fly fighter jets and then go use them in probably some pretty soft maneuvers. I doubt they were banking and doing like 5Gs with an actor, but they could do a 2 or 3G move, and it would look just like to everyone else that it was like a 5 or 7G move, and who cares?
Yeah.
You know, because he's breathing in, he's, you know, so that he doesn't black out.
Yes, and so that was great.
Yeah.
The way that they portrayed like what's happening to the pilots physically.
Yeah.
The plot itself was just really nice. And there was like a coda that I did not expect. I thought the movie was about to end, and then I discovered it was not about to end. And it was even better. Even better. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're delivering this right now.
Yeah, kind of
really good.
Kind of went a little James Bond moment there with
Yeah.
the snow scene and a giant
Yeah,
helicopter.
I'm trying to not like talk too direct.
Well, that's been in
I
the
guess-
trailer. It was
okay.
in the trailer.
Well, that's what you knew that there was going to be something.
Well, I just didn't know when.
The mission.
You know, and then when it came, I'm like, oh, so that's when this happens from the trailer. It made perfect sense.
Yeah, but I liked it a lot better. There was, they got to use some of that original drama from, and how they used Val Kilmer was really so smart and sweet.
Yeah,
I really, really liked how they handled that relationship.
Well, the only way you knew about that is because I watched the documentary, something you don't do, of Val Kilmer, and he did honestly this really beautiful movie about his life, because throughout his entire life, he recorded almost on every single set, including Top Gun. And to your point about the plot being a little lax, he did say when he got the role of Iceman, there was
the original.
Yeah, there was nothing in it. There was no like telling him of what this character is to be or anything. So he had to create the character, which is like everything you see in the original of that acting is Val Kilmer. It's coming from him trying to create this diversity, or not diversity. What's the word? When two things are rubbing against each other that don't agree with each other.
Friction?
Yeah, friction. Thank you. That's a great word. He created this friction throughout the entire casting because it was supposed to be about how these guys are all trying to be the best, and then they ended up in two camps, which is what is in the movie, but it also happened to offset too, like because he's a method actor, and so he just kept that character going the whole time. And he and Tom Cruise are really good friends, but what you learn in the documentary is that he suffered from a throat cancer, and what you see in the movie, which was beautiful, he has a scarf on, and the reason he has a scarf on is because he has one of those tubes in his esophagus, so that he can breathe and talk and eat and everything else. And that's a resultant of the cancer. And I think eventually that'll get removed, but right now it isn't. And he cannot speak very well at all. So there's like this one little moment where you see him wiping his face with a napkin, like on his lip. That is like truth of life right there. That's a reality that Val Kilmer has to deal with now daily, of just the suffering that he's going through. And so they brought it into the movie. But the one thing, and this is a spoiler, I will say, because most people don't know it unless you've watched the documentary, when you see Val Kilmer talk quietly to Tom Cruise, he can't talk. So they had somebody voice it for him because he physically can't talk that way. Like he sounds like if
he
you
talks
ever...
with a voice box.
He doesn't talk with a voice box, but he closes his air passageway and then he speaks, and it's like it's kind of that sound. That's all the sound he can make. He can't intonate or anything. So it takes a while to understand what he's saying.
It's weird they wouldn't use a voice box with him, though, because what a voice box does is create the resonance that is created in your throat, and then you use your mouth to form the actual words.
Well, he still has...
that still works.
He still has his vocal cords. They've just been severely damaged.
I know, but... I mean, anyone could use a voice... I could use a voice box.
I don't know.
Because all it does is it provides the resonance for the sound, and then you form with your tongue and your teeth and your mouth. It's mostly your tongue, honestly.
Really?
That's how you form all of the words that are coming out.
I mean, I haven't
aside from
seen...
a little bit of guttural sounds, and that's still tongue. So
I haven't seen a voice box since I was a little kid. You know, there was a lot of older men that had throat cancers or something happened. They couldn't talk anymore, so they would put the throat box on.
yeah. So the reason it works is it
Yeah.
creates that the vibration
Yeah.
that we require in order to make sounds come out of our mouth.
So it was a really beautiful part of the movie to see
Yeah,
that.
and it was well done because there's text messaging happening.
Oh, yes.
So
yeah, they accommodated
already
the whole situation so beautifully.
Yeah, and it's even in... Yes, they accommodated the situation. They like treated it as a real relationship, and then you see him in person and you see them in person.
Oh, yeah.
And that is just so like wonderful, the care that they've had for each other
Right.
Over their careers. And you know, Val Kilmer, Admiral Iceman, whatever he is, I don't know what
I don't remember.
he ended up being, but you know, he's super high up. You know, he was a rising star,
Yes.
right? And we have Pete Maverick, and he's just a superstar. He's really good at what he does, and he's
he's a
dealing
rock
with
star.
Yeah, a rock star. Okay.
Yes. To pull from Radical Candor.
Yes, it's a good way to try to talk about that dynamic. That there's people that just are really good at what they do, and they don't need to They don't need to go up the ranks. They don't need
Right.
to go, you know, into the higher level positions. They're just good at what they do, and they're happy with what they do.
Yep.
And they should be allowed to really thrive in that environment. And that was what happened to Pete Maverick. In his characters, he was permitted to continue to be an excellent fighter pilot, right?
Is his name Pete Maverick?
I'm pretty sure it's Pete. Yes.
Pete?
Well, no,
And then
his
you're
last
like-
name isn't Maverick.
I know. I'm like, Pete Maverick. I've never heard of him called that before.
I'm pretty sure it's Pete.
So that's his name?
I would probably take a bit, but I don't know what his last name is.
I don't know. Not Maverick.
No. Well, I'll call him Pete Maverick.
Right.
Maverick then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just the time that those two come together.
Yes.
And it also, even that dynamic continues to like push the plot along because, you know, he's been his protector in the military, and probably the only reason that he's been permitted to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Maverick has been permitted to be a rock star because Iceman has been there to have his back.
Yeah, because Iceman knows he is literally the best of the best. And with that comes some friction because everyone else is like trying to do their thing, but yet he outshines them every time he does anything when it comes to flying.
Yeah, and they do that very well in the movie. And we
Yeah.
don't need to go on and on. I think
Yeah.
we probably talked long enough. But they set him up as the best pilot, like, period,
Right.
in the movie really
So-
well. It's fun.
If you were to say to wives out there who could care less about a air movie about flying and guys and machismo and those things, would you watch this?
Yeah, I'd encourage anyone to watch it. It's really,
Yeah.
it's a good plot. It's a really interesting story. It's, I think, nice if you get to watch the first Top Gun first.
Yeah, probably.
Because they
probably
do
helps.
have some nice winks.
So much homage back to it.
Yeah, in a good way.
For men, it's flying, military, war, fraternity, fatherly figure, and he gets the girl.
Yes.
So what else could you want in a movie?
Yeah, they just brought a plot to a dick flick
That's right.
with the new one.
Sure, we'll call it that. Big talk?
Big talk.
So you just got through the gauntlet.
Yeah. And the reason that we were referencing something that happened a couple weeks ago is because pretty much this whole week was just Totus, Tuus. And we were going to talk about it for Big Talk, and we didn't want it to be like the Totus, Tuus episode where we just constantly talk about Totus, Tuus. So, as a refresher, we mentioned it last week. Totus Tuus is the name of a program that is run at the archdiocesan level, and it's run across the country independently in separate dioceses. But here in Denver, it's part of the Archdiocese, I think, Youth and Children Formation program at the archdiocesan level. And what it ends up doing is it brings a team of young adults, so college kids, to parishes to engage with your youth, the young youth in the day, the older youth at night. And the mission of the program is kind of twofold. They're working with these missionaries to be true missionaries, for these college kids to grow closer to God and to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit as they bring catechesis to these children. And then the other part of the mission is for the children to discover Christ and attraction to Christ, and to be kind of sit on a course through Mary's oversight, because Totus Tuus is St. John Paul II's motto, and it means totally yours, Mary, is what it's actually from. So entrusting, the children's trajectory to Mary, and that she's going to keep them on the course, even after the week ends. So does that mission kind of make sense?
Yep, it does.
Okay.
From a parental outside view, I would say it's a prepackaged faith summer camp.
Yes, it's like a Catholic VBS.
What's a VBS?
Oh, Vacation Bible School.
Okay.
Did you not do those as a kid?
We didn't call them VBS.
We didn't either. We called it Vacation Bible School, but VBS is like the modern hip lingo for them.
I don't know that stuff. That weird language you're talking about. I don't get it.
Well, if you start looking around as you drive by Protestant churches at this time of year, or even in the early summer, it's more prevalent, you'll see lots of VBS, these dates, inquire within, like on their outdoor signs.
Okay.
So now you have a tip.
I mean, I remember going to those as a kid.
Yeah.
And there were a giant blend of different kids. I do remember, so I don't remember much about those programs, but I do remember there was one kid that would pop all of his knuckles and pop his neck. That I remember. And I remember that's cool, and so I started popping my neck. Yep. The joys of the things we remember from our childhood, right?
What I remember from Vacation Bible School at our parish, my mom was part of the organizing, or somehow a volunteer involved. And the thing that I distinctly remember is we did like plays of different stories. And I was the dead girl that was brought back to life by Jesus.
Nice.
And so through the whole day, I had to reset. So I had to be like the dead girl in the bed. And then Jesus, whoever portrayed Jesus, came over and hovered their hands over me. And then I woke up and was alive again. That's what I remember from Vacation Bible School.
Nice.
Pretty funny. So, yes, Totus Tuus is supposed to be an intentionally Catholic version of Vacation Bible School. And there's a strong emphasis on Mass, on the Rosary, and then there's accompanying catechesis. So the way that the program works from day to day is the kids come in, they're checked in, and they have 2 lessons in the morning, and they're grade level lessons. We go to Mass, we have lunch, and then there's 2 afternoon lessons. And in between lessons, we have everyone sitting together in a large hall that's attached to our church. It's our parish hall. And this is a large room that can accommodate receptions, has a dance floor, things like that. So it's not like a gymnasium. It's like a slightly nicer space. And it's quite big. So we had about at least 70 kids every day. We had just a little under 80 that were registered, but we didn't have, 100% attendance from day to day. And when the kids were together in the room, it was an interesting dynamic because we have a large age spread. We have first graders all the way through 6th graders, and this is ingoing. So it's kids that just got done with kindergarten and kids that just got done with 5th grade. And so that's quite a large age range, first of all, of development within children and how they respond to activities or games or fun. And it's also quite a lot of children. So the first thing that the youth minister and I start to notice is just how many kids are getting injured in the activities. So
because there was a mosh pit off to the left.
So there are all these youth games that we don't play in children's faith formation, and there's a good reason for that, which we got to experience. It's because kids who are little get trampled or run over or hit or punched or shoved, or they become the Hulk and they go crazy, and then they hit and punch and bite and scratch other people, other children.
So they brought the 80s into the 2020s is what you're
They
saying.
did. And so I think...
I mean, that would have been totally fine back in the day.
So looking at what Totus Tuus is supposed to accomplish, its mission, and then looking at its implementation, there's some problems. And I think that's what I want to talk about, is kind of the problematic implementation of Totus Tuus at our parish. And it may, in fact, be very unique. And I think I have a very unique perspective that I hope parents didn't feel this way either.
I don't think they did.
So,
because I think the parents are just picking up their kids, and their kids are probably wiped out from a day of being at, church, doing churchy stuff. So to them, they're like, okay, cool. My kid had a good day. They're tired.
I mean, I would hope that they had experienced that and their kid being excited about the stuff they learned or excited about the relationships they were starting to form. Like, I hope that what parents experienced is more than just their kid getting tuckered out at church at a day camp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't know if parents will ever really see like the fruits of it, in that way.
I know, but I would hope they would. And I'm going to actually ask for feedback anonymously through my parents because I'd like to know what they experienced at home. But anyway, one of the first problems that we encountered was that the college kids who are managing this entire thing, they took rather significant ownership over the program. And they were not good at working with us at the parish side to communicate as a team. And so we're dealing with Band-Aids and ice packs and like kind of in shell shock that the kids are playing, I don't know, just these very rambunctious games that the youth minister was familiar with, because I think that, middle schoolers are really great candidates for those kind of games, but we don't use them at the little ages because like developmentally those games are too much. Duck Duck Goose is about my favorite game that I saw them do, and I think it was effective because it creates tension. Everyone's body is ready to go. They do have to do some running around, but it's not everyone running around and mosh pitting. So that was like observation number one. That was really difficult. And I printed that very first day after I saw the very first game that got out of hand. We have kids with a diversity of backgrounds and needs and developments. We have some kids that are ADHD that, they do benefit from activity, but I think they can get overstimulated if things get too crazy, and then they can't calm themselves. Like it's not their fault that they're hyperactive. Like they've been overstimulated. And then we have kids with like sensory processing issues who are like on the floor, like cupping their hands, like rocking back and forth, trying not to die. So that's like what I saw the very first day, and I printed off the list of all the special needs that the kids have, and I sorted it by birth date so they would kind of be in the age groups when they would look at them at the class level. And I made them multiple copies of this list in the hopes that the team, these college kiddos, would see it and see, okay, there's some like diversity of needs, maybe let's reframe how we do the activities. And that did not take place. So that's kind of problem number one. And we were not consulted on the games, and when we did kind of say this or that, it was disregarded very early on. Like I think I said, it might be nice to not ramp them up so much, and it was like in one ear, one out the other. Like this is how we know how to handle kids, is we ramp them up, and then we sit them down, and when we sit them down, we yell at them for being rambunctious still.
So I think part of this is you're coming at this with a mother's perspective.
Yes.
And they're coming at it with a teenager's perspective, who they have no understanding of like that parental role. And so you're seeing all of the things that they probably they were completely oblivious to that was going on, because their job was ramp these kids up and fill them with the Holy Spirit. Hey, wait, no, I need you to be quiet now. Gotta be quiet.
Yes.
Okay, now like time to ramp up again. Yeah.
And the youth minister and I were just looking at each other and we're like, do they not understand? Like, this is the natural consequence of what literally just happened to these kids.
Yeah, they probably don't.
Running around. And it wasn't welcome that we were giving feedback. So that's kind of problem number one, is like just the overactivity, overstimulation, and then not being received. by the team that like there's kids with special needs. Problem kind of number 2, and it stems again from the lack of working on this project as a team. It was feeling like we were not welcome in the classroom breakouts.
Mm-hmm.
So we had one of our volunteers was really interested in kind of helping with the teaching side. And she's an older woman. She's a widowed woman. And when she, the very first day she was going into the classrooms, and she was made to feel very much unwelcome. And she persisted the day, and she went through all the classrooms. And she actually, this is probably for point number 3, she had encountered some difficulties, but she wasn't embraced as someone that could be there. And so, and they could have, I think that the program, it's supposed to be their program, right? It's supposed to be their time with the kids to teach and this and that and do their missionary work. And, maybe she isn't supposed to be there, but they could have communicated that in a respectful manner.
Right.
Respecting her as a member of our parish, as a volunteer of our parish, and as someone who is an elder to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could communicate, hey, I really appreciate you being here. Could you do this or this or that instead for the kids? This is the way that this works. And just explain to her and treat her like a human being. Instead, she was kind of ignored and glared at by the team. And there's different personalities on the team, and I think that was a contributing factor, as we have all kinds of personality dynamics happening.
Yeah, every team will be different.
Yes, so just the lack of feeling like we understood what was happening, throughout the entire day, and the lack of including us at the parish in their team. Like, we're part of the team too. We're the team that's kind of the logistics team. That was a problem. And then probably the third layer of problem is, so there was a moment that I was in the classroom. I didn't feel like I was invited into the classroom until this moment happened. And this kind of also talks to some of the miscommunication that's happening with the college kids team. I was asked to come in and discipline a class. Like, specifically asked to come in and discipline them. So that was my role, was like big bad disciplinarian.
Bouncer.
Not my favorite thing to do. But I was asked to come and lay down the law, so I come in and I lay down the law. Now, let's talk about the problem that created. So for these 4 classes a day, these college kids rotate. So the person who asked us to come discipline this class was not the person that was about to come teach them. So I'm suddenly in this teacher's classroom disciplining these kids, and giving them the clear outline of what the consequences were going to be for continued misbehavior. And then I'm the bouncer in the classroom, trying to stay as close to the wall as I possibly can, because I don't want to interrupt the lesson, but I've already pretty much dimmed the entire classroom under like a big wet blanket. But I was invited to do so by a different person than who is teaching, and I did not know that, because it's again chaotic. So then afterward, we have a discussion between me and a couple of the team members about why I'm actually not desired to be in that role, and how can we process through this together? How can we solve this problem together? Which triggers me a little bit, and I start to be very direct with how I've perceived things. But this is, again, we created conflict based on like pure miscommunication on their team, and I never want to go into the classroom as a bad guy. That is not on my list of things that I want to accomplish today.
Yeah.
But when someone comes to us and says, you need to come do something about this specific class, that's what I have to do. I don't know that the person who asked us is actually not the person that's about to teach. Right. All of this. So it actually made it really difficult for this particular class to teach. And then I was also suddenly the one who was intruding on the classroom in a very unwelcome way.
Yeah. So it feels like part of the problem is, was there even a huddle at the beginning of saying, let's walk through this week. What are we going to be doing?
Yeah.
How are we going to work together? This is what we're going to need of staff, volunteers, and this is what we are going to be doing. There was none of that.
No.
Right, which probably made it difficult.
Yeah.
Because you were in the dark. You didn't know what they were going to be doing, and they had an expectation in which you didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was the challenge.
And we didn't know where the line was, and we observed very quickly that we were not welcome to intrude on the program, that it was their program and we were just there to check in kids and check out kids and supervise during lunch. That was, the role that was implied by our interactions
but
with
had
this
had that had been up front, then it'd been probably a better situation, because you'd be like, okay, that's our role, that's what we'll do, and y'all do what you got to do.
Yeah, I didn't
We're not going to interject.
So I asked the very first day if I could have a schedule breakdown just printed, because actually the schedule that I had in my mind was from a different document.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I never got a schedule, and even that would have been a little helpful to understand, like, what is the catechesis for the day, like what's the plan, what are they going to be focusing on in these classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's the final point, is in the very short instances that we were in the classrooms or observing some of the teaching, we saw some I'd say catechetical gaffes, and those come from what looked like improvisational catechesis taking place, where maybe they're seeing or feeling for too much Holy Spirit in what the kids are questioning, and they're trying to roll with the kids' questions instead of correcting a question and saying this is teaching. In the very few instances that we were actually even observing the direct catechesis and teaching of the children, we're hearing things come out of these college kids' mouths that were like, oh no, this is not good.
Well, I think that goes part with age.
Yeah.
And how you approach things.
But that, again, it worries me. I'm like, okay, so the mission of this is to bring kids closer to God. And are we accomplishing that mission?
Right. I mean, you're giving them opportunities for adoration, reconciliation, prayer.
Not adoration, but mass, I'd say.
Wasn't the youth group? I thought they did.
Oh, the youth group.
Yeah, those other kids, the hormonal ones, those. They got, I mean, I guess that's the part I got to see more of than the earlier morning, because I was going with Christina and doing a little bit of that. So I saw that they were doing adoration and confession, there was prayer, and those kind of things were all kind of hanging out. So I don't know, I kind of wonder if it is that bit of age. We've been around the block a few times. We've had more hardships spiritually probably than someone who's fresh in college. If I were to try to do what they were doing in college versus do that now, I would have a very different approach to it. And I think that's part of the friction that was occurring with that. I mean,
it is. It's a lack of maturity
yeah.
on the team's side, and maybe a lack of training them to be more to approach the parish as a team. Maybe my personality just was not
as a samurai
great for them.
It's a challenge, I'm
well,
sure,
I
because
was
you're very direct.
Very direct.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was mean, but on the few instances that I needed to be direct, I don't like the talking around. Let's not beat around the bush on the problem. Let's talk about the problem. I had to interject a few times when we were having to plan together, and I think that comes across as being mean sometimes, but it actually I don't think was in defense of me.
I
think I was just being very direct. Let's just get to the point.
I mean, for me, the whole week kind of sounds like a mini microcosm of what I would expect from a construction administration process. So a contractor comes in, they've been a part of some things early on, and I'm handing off my baby to them saying, hey, finish this, bring it to fruition. And I expect to get from them a schedule that's going to tell me what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Submittals, which confirm that they actually are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and which is a submittal log. And then I have to watch them as they do it. And then I create field reports, which are the corrections when they fail to do it correctly. And then we get through the whole thing, and then eventually we go, good job, everybody. That was hard, but we got through it.
That is a delightful metaphor.
Yeah.
Delightful. And it brings me to like the final point is, did we accomplish the mission? So the mission is twofold.
Right.
The mission is to form the missionaries. So like they're part of the mission, and their growth
absolutely.
in Christ is
Absolutely.
part of the mission. So that is to be determined by the diocese. And I'm not part of that determination. Did we accomplish, mission number one? The second mission is the formation of my children in the program, and to make sure that they're maintaining a trajectory toward Christ.
Mm-hmm.
This program can obviously not be responsible for very much in their life. Like I think you were kind of talking about that with I'm a parent and I see my kids are like wiped out at the end of the week, and that like hits my expectations. I would hope there'd be like a little bit more, but maybe, as long as we aren't taking people away from Christ, we're keeping them going on that trajectory. That's to be determined probably over a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I am sitting here as a program manager, and I was witness to all the areas where things broke down.
Yeah.
Very upfront and close to where everything failed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of what I explained when we had our little moment of sorry, not sorry for coming in and disciplining these kids. As I said, look, we are witnessing nothing but the kids that have cuts, have goose eggs, who are crying, who are covering their ears on the floor. We're getting my headphones with noise canceling to put on these children.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm witnessing. I'm not seeing any growth. I'm not seeing the light come out in these children. And you guys may be witnessing that, but I'm not. And I'm also completely in the dark as to what is happening with these children in the classroom, what is happening with the catechesis. So can you start to understand that from my perspective, you've asked me to do one thing, and now you're telling me that that thing was wrong, and I have no idea what to do. Like, this is a problem that you guys need to fix.
Yeah.
So, anyway, critical eye on Totus Tuus here in the year of 2022.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's up to God. I would hope that it's fortifying in some way, shape, or form their formation through their lives. I mean, we all know that we do the best we can with these kids, our children, to embellish as much as we can and witness to our faith and our relationship with God. And that's all we can do. And as we know from our own lives, we all fall off the rails at some point in some form. It's going to happen. And all of this formation that's happened, this background, is all going to be there. It's kind of the catcher's mitt to say, oh, okay, I got you. Let's put you back on the path. It might take a year or 2 or 10, but we'll get you back there. And it comes from all of this in the background. So we don't know. We just do the best we can.
Yeah.
Well, with that, if you have any thoughts on the podcast, on watching the Val Kilmer documentary or Top Gun Maverick, let us know. Drop us a line, catholichitch@gmail.com.
May the Lord guide and direct our journey.
Amen.